You are standing at the foot of a 49-story tower in the middle of Bangkok. Not a single light is on. Not a single window has glass in it. You look up, and the tower seems to swallow the night sky above your head. This is not a work of fiction. This tower is real. It is still standing right now, while you listen to this story. Locals in Bangkok call it by one simple name: the Ghost Tower. Its official name is Sathorn Unique Tower, sitting on a small side street called Charoen Krung 51, right along the Chao Phraya River. Do you know why a 49-story building in the heart of the city has sat abandoned for almost 30 years? The answer has nothing to do with a curse. It comes from a real chain of events, clearly documented, and that truth is the most unsettling part of all. In 1990, a well-known architect and real estate developer named Rangsan Torsawan began construction on this building. He wanted it to become a symbol of Thailand's rising elite. Luxury condominiums. A view of the river. One of the most sought-after locations in Bangkok. Construction moved fast. The tower was nearly finished. Then everything collapsed. In 1993, Rangsan Torsawan was arrested, accused of plotting to assassinate the president of Thailand's Supreme Court. Can you imagine that? The man building one of the most extravagant towers in the city was suddenly caught in a serious political scandal. Investors panicked. Capital pulled out. And just 4 years later, the Asian financial crisis of 1997 tore through Thailand like a storm, wiping out hundreds of construction projects across Bangkok. Sathorn Unique Tower stopped at roughly 80% complete. Not more. Not less. The stairwells were there. The floors were there. But doors, windows, water, electricity, none of it was ever installed. The tower was left exactly like that, and no one returned to finish it for more than 30 years, right up until today. Do you think the story ends there? Not yet. An abandoned building in a city of 8 million people cannot stay silent for long. Before long, people living nearby began telling stories. Some said they saw faint lights flickering on the highest floors, even though there was no electricity. Some said they heard footsteps echoing down the empty stairwell at midnight. Delivery workers who passed the building daily started taking longer routes just to avoid walking directly beneath it after sunset. And one legend was repeated more than any other, that the land the tower was built on used to be an old cemetery, and the building had gone up directly over ground that was never properly cleared for the dead. Have you noticed something distinctive about Thai culture? Thai people believe that spirits need a proper place to reside. That's why nearly every house, every building in Thailand has a small shrine set up in the yard, called a San Phra Phum, a tiny house for the guardian spirit of the land, meant to reassure and invite the local spirit to settle there instead of disturbing the people living inside. Before breaking ground on any construction, from a small food stall to a towering skyscraper, Thai people will often invite a monk to perform a ceremony, lay out offerings, and formally ask permission from whatever they believe already occupies that piece of land. This isn't treated as a mere formality. For a great many Thai people, skipping this step is like building a house without asking the landowner's permission, except here, the landowner isn't human. If a construction project skips this ritual, or if it truly does overlap with land once used to bury the dead, Thai belief holds that this invites misfortune. And with Sathorn Unique, the rumor that it was built on an old cemetery spread for years, turning the unfinished tower into a place the entire city learned to avoid. You should understand that this part belongs to folklore. There is no public land record confirming the site was ever a cemetery. But that is exactly how an urban legend works. It doesn't need evidence to survive. It only needs a gap large enough, dark enough, and old enough for an entire city's imagination to fill in. Now imagine you are one of the few people bold enough to step inside. For years, there was no guard posted at the main entrance. People simply climbed through a gap on the ground floor. Inside, the air is thick and damp. No light gets in except moonlight through windows with no glass left in them. You climb the stairwell, counting each floor in the dark, and the sound of your own footsteps bounces back off the bare concrete walls, as if someone is following you, just half a beat behind. Graffiti covers whole sections of the lower walls, layered over years by strangers who came before you, each one leaving behind some proof that they had made it this far and turned back before going any higher. You step over puddles of stagnant rainwater pooled in unfinished bathroom floors, their surfaces perfectly still, reflecting the beam of your flashlight back at your own face for a fraction of a second before you look away. On the higher floors, wind cutting through the glassless window frames makes a long, drawn-out moaning sound. On the floors below, people have found all kinds of objects left behind in strange places: old mannequins, rotted furniture, and photographs hanging on the walls that no one can explain who put there. Does it unsettle you, knowing that a building never once lived in is filled with traces that make it look as though someone lived there for a very long time? The higher you climb, the more the air changes. The damp mildew smell of the lower floors fades, replaced by an unusually cold draft, even though Bangkok sits in the middle of its hottest season. You pass one open window frame after another, each one acting like a giant lens, projecting the distant city lights into the pitch-black space where you stand. Some stretches of hallway have no railing left at all, just a straight vertical drop of over 40 floors to the ground. One wrong step, and no one would ever know you had been there. You stop at the 43rd floor. This is the number that would later become inseparable from the rest of this story. But the most unsettling part of this story isn't the rumors at all. In December 2014, a real event took place inside the tower. The body of a Swedish tourist was found on the 43rd floor. He had hanged himself. This is not a legend. This was reported widely by international news outlets at the time. After this incident, Bangkok authorities tightened security around the tower, put up barriers, posted guards around the clock, and from that year on, entering Sathorn Unique was officially classified as illegal. Do you notice something? A building that was once simply a casualty of an economic crisis now carries within it a real death, a real police record, a real news report. Legend and fact, from that point on, are woven together so tightly that no one can fully separate what's rumor from what actually happened. Since then, the tower has been sealed off completely. No one is allowed inside, not even the most curious tourists. But that hasn't stopped the stories. It has only made them spread further. People still talk about the mysterious light on the top floor. People still avoid walking down Charo Krung 51 after dark if they can help it. And longtime taxi drivers in the Sathorn area, when asked, will lower their voice and say they never stop their cars near that tower once the sun goes down, even though none of them can quite explain why. Stop for a moment and think about this. A project abandoned for entirely mundane reasons, a financial crash, a political scandal, became a place an entire city came to believe was cursed. Not because of any supernatural proof, but because people always need an explanation for the gaps they cannot fill with logic. An empty building, standing tall in the middle of a loud, restless city, unnaturally silent, that alone is its own kind of fear, even before a single ghost story is ever told. This is not unique to Bangkok. Every city has at least one building like this. A house no one will buy. A block everyone quietly avoids after dark. The details change from country to country, but the pattern never does. Humans fill silence with meaning, and the bigger the silence, the darker the meaning tends to become. A 49-story void in the middle of a skyline was always going to be filled with something, whether the city wanted it to be true or not. Have you ever walked past an abandoned house in your own neighborhood? Have you ever caught your eyes lingering a little too long on those dark, empty windows, even though there was no real reason to? That's the exact feeling millions of people in Bangkok experience every day walking past Sathorn Unique. A black gap standing among a skyline of lit windows, reminding you that not everything humans build gets finished, and not every story gets a clean ending. The tower is still standing today. No one finished it. No one tore it down. It just stands there, unchanged since 1997, waiting for something that may never come. And if you ever find yourself in Bangkok, walking through Sathorn as night falls, look up at that dark, 49-story building with not a single light on. Then ask yourself, are you really sure that flicker you just saw on the top floor was only your imagination?